they didn't look a day older. Isn't that nuts? Anyway, it was Dwaraka, being the charioteer of Krishna, who drove Krishna from Mathura, where he had just killed Dantavakra, and this was all part of the perfect arrangement, because Krishna was looking for an excuse to go to Vrindavan, but he couldn't. He was in Kurukshetra. The residents of Vrindavan came to Kurukshetra to see him there, but we all know that they weren't really satisfied because it wasn't the right atmosphere. It was chariots, elephants, queens, ornaments. It was all this Aishwarya stuff. So it was nice, but it wasn't that nice. It was like Krishna. Yeah, it was like in a sense doubly frustrating for them. Because it was Krishna, but it wasn't the Krishna they knew. Because Krishna could not behave as he does in Vrindavan. He was a prince, he had to act as a prince, and so all the meetings were a bit formal and therefore not so satisfying. So the residents of Vrindavan went back to Vrindavan, and their feelings of separation continued, but now they were getting also more news of Krishna, what he's doing when he comes to Indraprastha to participate in the performance of Yudhishthir's Rajasuya. And because Indraprastha is not so far away from Vraja, the residents of Vraja get really excited and they think, Krishna, he's going to come. He could come any day now. And so every day they're hearing about what's happening. Yeah, so Krishna's coming. Yes, yeah, not yet. And then they hear some devastating news. Krishna went back to Dwaraka. Why did he go back to Dwaraka? Because Shalva was attacking Dwaraka. So again, more separation. It's getting to be too much. And for Krishna also, it's getting to be too much. But he's doing his duty. What does he say in Bhagavad Gita is his duty? What is his reason for coming for coming to the world? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. And before that, paritranaya saranam vinashaya chadushkritam. So he's got to do a lot of dharma samsthapanartha. He's got to do a lot of dushkrita vinashana. He's got to do a lot of destruction of the demons. And so all this time there's this invisible magnet, drawing Krishna back to Vraj. Finally we go. So my point was that Uddhava takes him, Dwaraka takes him, and when Dwaraka sees how the residents of Vrindavan are dealing with Krishna, and how Krishna is dealing with the residents of Vraja, how he's like completely different. he just, we would say in English slang, he chills out completely. He's just totally, completely warm and intimate with all the devotees in Vraj. And he takes, he had come, actually, Uddhava had supplied him some Vraj clothes to put on before he came into Vraj, so he kind of dressed himself in those clothes to look the part. But then when he got to Gokula, because he found out that the residents that Nanda Maharaj, they had all moved to Gokula because they couldn't stand to be in Nandagram without Krishna. When he got there, then devotees, even though they had sold everything of any value in order to perform sacrifices, in order to bring about Krishna's return to Vrindavan, they had sold all their everything, anything valuable they had, their nice clothes, their jewelry, everything. So they looked very wretched, really. But they still had they pulled out some clothes and they gave to Krishna whatever they had, and Krishna put it all on. New turban and everything. And he glanced to one side, and who was it? One of the devotees immediately understood he wants a peacock feather. So he ran and got a peacock feather, put it in his cap. So, Uddhava, he's going to Vrindavan, and I'm going to kind of speed through this because I want to get to the next chapter, the Song of the Bee. Yeah, I want to get to the Song of the Bee. When Krishna meets residents of Vrindavan, they welcome him, first of all, with services. This is apparently the standard thing. You don't immediately start asking somebody questions when you meet them. First, you sit them down, bathe the feet, make them comfortable, and when everything is nice, then you can start talking. But first there's no talk, there's just, let's take care of the needs of the body, let's get the comforts, and when everything is right, then like that. So, Uddhava has been nicely welcomed in this way, and by the way, welcoming and reception is one of the major motifs of the Bhagavatam. There's all kinds of receptions, and not all of them are very pleasant. The reception of Parikshit Maharaj by the sage, what's his name, in the forest is a kind of non-reception leading eventually to a curse. And that's another subject, but here is warmly received, and he is asked questions. And one of the questions is quite ironic. Does Krishna remember us? And, you know, if Krishna would be there, of course, he would be saying, of course I remember you. I'm thinking of nothing else but you. But from the side of the Rajavasis, the feeling is he doesn't remember us. It's been 44 years. No, not so many years now. That'll be, when Krishna returns, 44 years. But it's been some time, and Krishna said he'll return as soon as he's satisfied his relatives. It's been a long time. Krishna must have forgotten us. And then they go on through the night, Nanda Maharaj and Uddhava, discussing memories of Krishna. So a theme here is smarana. They're remembering Krishna together. And what are they remembering about Krishna? They're remembering, Nanda Maharaj is remembering two things, I would say, his heroism and his sweetness. So he's killing so many demons, he killed so many demons in Vrindavan, and it was so wonderful. So Krishna, Nanda Maharaj remembers this. And then, of course, his sweetness. Mother Yashoda is there, and she hears all of this, and all she can do is shed tears. She just she's just sobbing the whole time. Yeah, when she hears these memories, it's too much for her. And so all she can do is cry. Uddhava gets philosophical at one point to say, Krishna is, he is your son, he said, but he's actually the son of everyone, and he is also the parents of everyone. And so he's speaking something philosophical, and the Brajavasis, they don't relate too much to Uddhava's philosophy. They're very respectful, but the main thing for them is that Uddhava is coming from Krishna, and he looks a lot like Krishna. He looks practically like Krishna. He has a similar complexion. He's dressed in a similar way, and he just very much reminds them of Krishna. And then at the end of this chapter we get what I would call snapshots of the elder Raja gopis churning butter. It's this image of life as it is in Vrindavan. And I should mention, it's explained, because earlier in this chapter it's describing Vrindavan as the wonderful place that Krishna had lived in, where everything is joyful, is spilling over with Krishna Katha, and everything is just, I say in English, hunky-dory. But it's not really like that, but Krishna has sent through his Yogamaya potency, or some potency, he's for Uddhava, he's made everything look this way. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now, up to now, the gopis have not seen Uddhava, apparently. But next morning, when they get up, they see Uddhava's chariot near the house of Nanda Maharaj. And they see the chariot from a distance. And the first thing they think of Krishna, but in what respect? What do they think? Huh? They think, Akrura is back! What's he doing back? They immediately start, speculating, as we would say. And only after some time they realize it's not Akrura, it's Uddhava. And so that morning they approach him, and then begins this very charming exchange, which is, there's an interlude in this exchange, and this exchange is not between Uddhava and the gopis, but rather it's an exchange. It's more of a monologue, but it's a kind of exchange between a certain gopi, Kachit, some gopi, and a bumblebee. What's the Serbian word for bumblebee? Yeah, Bumba. Boomba, that's it, I remember. Huh? Oh, Chumara. Chumara Boomba. Boombara. Boombare. Boombare. Okay. In Sanskrit it's Brahmara. And Brahmara means one that wanders, is a wanderer. Okay, so what I wanted to do is to read, there are 10 verses. of the Brahmana Gita, and well, this may be a little bit arrogant, but I want to read my translation of it. But first, let's get the Sanskrit, because the meter of these verses is very nice. And the meter of these verses gives a suggestion of the mood of the verses. The mood of the verses is one of turbulent emotion. It's intense emotions of separation, and it's kind of a mix of different emotions. And so all of these 10 verses are explained by the Acharyas, by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in particular, as examples of Chitra Jalpa. Chitra Jalpa are, Jalpa means speech, Chitra means artful, or can mean clever, it can mean a lot of things. But in this case, there are 10 categories of Chitra Jalpa, and they're all analyzed and given definitions in the Ujjvala Nilamani and in the purports of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust edition. We have each of those definitions with the translation. I won't go into that, but here's the Sanskrit of verse number 12 of chapter 47. Gopyuvacha Madhupakitava Bando Masprishandrin Sapatnya Kuchaviludita Kunkumasmashudhirna Bahutam Madhupatistan Manininam Prasadam Yadasarasividam Yamyasya Dutastamidra. It's kind of intense expression. So here is this one gopi, whom Jiva Goswami and our acharyas in general identify as being, of course, Srimati Radharani, whom, as we know, is never explicitly referred to in the Bhagavatam, the explanation being that if Shukadeva Goswami would speak the name Radharani, he would faint, and then he would not be able to continue his duty of speaking for 7 days to Parikshit Maharaj. Okay. The gopi said, addressing the bee, nectar-drinking honeybee, friend of a cheater, do not touch my feet with your hair, which is colored by saffron from Krishna's garland, after it was crushed by the breasts of a rival lover. Let the honey-sweet Lord show favor to the women of Mathura, who think highly of him. One who has a messenger like you will be ridiculed in the Yadu assembly. That's a little hard to translate quickly. So here Radharani is expressing resentment, and we can say it's quite understandable resentment. And the poor bee, the Bumbare, the Bumbare, poor innocent Bumbare, you may say, right? Well, acharyas say there's some apparently difference of opinion here, but it can be taken that indeed Krishna has come in the form of the Bumbare. So if that's the case, then she's speaking to Krishna. But she's also seeing him as the bee, which is there where Krishna is in Mathura with his new lovers. And the evidence of this is the color of the bee. And what is the color of the bee? Yeah, there's this saffron yellow color. In the BBT translation, it says the whiskers, but after much research and discussion, we decided it's not the whiskers. It's the hair, of, yeah, because you don't see bees with whiskers that are that color. They're black. Anyway. Yeah. One thing that may be interesting for you is that we, myself and Ravi Graman, this is part of our translation for this summary of the Bhagavatam that we're publishing. And at the very end of this book, which is hopefully coming out within a year, we're finished with the manuscript. It's going into production. Is that we include one chapter of elaborations of commentary from acharyas. We could not, the publisher is not allowing us to put commentary with our translations in general. It's just, they gave us a very strict limit of words. So we have notes throughout, which sometimes explain what commentators say. But then we expanded on some passages. And one of the passages we expand on is this, the Brahmana Gita. We take, I think it was 3 verses out of the 10 altogether, and we expand on them. Well, okay, maybe I know this can be difficult to listen to reading, and I'll try not to go too fast, but I'll read some explanation which is based on Sanatana Goswami's explanation of this verse. We found that it wasn't practical to just do straight translation of commentary, because the nature of commentary in Sanskrit, it doesn't lend itself to straight translation. It would become, very confusing. So we had to just draw out of it and then write our explanation. So, in this first of the 10 Brahmana Gita verses, the Gopi, identified by commentators as Sri Radha, the prominent beloved of Krishna, addresses the bee in ways that allude to, they suggest, both Krishna's sweetness and his deceptiveness. In his Brihad Vaishnava Toshini commentary on Book 10 of the Bhagavad, Sanatana Goswami notes that she considers the bee to be the friend of a cheater by similar appearance. Black with saffron. Krishna is blackish. The saffron is evidence that he's been mixing with other women because of the kumkum. So, 3 things. Similarity of appearance, similarity of name, namely Madhupa, which literally means drinker of honey, and Madhupati, the Lord of Madhu, which can be Lord of Mathura. And third, similarity of behavior. And what is the similarity of behavior? Drunkenness. Typically seen in the company of cheaters. And also, two kinds of behavior. Drunkenness and fickleness. You know what is fickleness? Not being constant, not being loyal to someone. Whatever message the bee intends to deliver, its very appearance, with saffron-colored hair, you gave up translation. Its very appearance with saffron-colored hair discloses, it shows to her that Krishna has been firmly embraced by a rival lover whose breasts, smeared with kumkum powder, had crushed Krishna's forest flower garland, within which the bee had obviously been lingering. So, here the gopi is making all kinds of conclusions based on seeing a bee. So there's some humor here also, that, wait a minute, how can you know all this? Well, she knows all this because instinctively she understands, if Krishna's not here with me, he must be with somebody else. And the bee is proof. So the bee becomes proof positive that Krishna has been mixing with other ladies. And she is, of course, angry about this, and therefore she says, get away, don't touch my feet. Oh, that's in the next verse. Don't touch my feet. Says, you're a messenger from him. He said, I would be embarrassed if I were a member of the court of the Yadus. I would just be embarrassed to think, our prince is sending this bee. Oh, no. In regard to the bee's form, Sanatana wishes to dispel, wishes to get rid of, what he considers a misconception of some commentators. Namely, that the saffron-colored hair refers to Uddhava having a red mustache. Yeah, because sometimes the bee is associated or identified with Uddhava. This cannot be so, he writes. Why? Because Uddhava is described in the beginning of this same chapter, chapter 47, as being very handsome. You may say, so what does that have to do with having a red mustache? The understanding is that this implies that anyone with a red mustache would not be considered handsome. So Sanatana Goswami wants to make sure that we don't make that mistake of thinking that Uddhava had a red mustache. So, in case anyone here was thinking that, now you know. Or if you ever meet someone who thinks Uddhava has a red mustache, you can tell them, no, Sanatana Goswami tells us this cannot be the case, and what is the proof?
He's handsome.
He's handsome. On the other hand, Sanatana continues, it would be no mistake to read the passage as indicating that Radha identifies Uddhava with the bee. Okay. With Radha's negative statements, pronouncements about the bee messenger's association with Krishna, she displays her indignation. You know this word, indignation? Indignation is a kind of anger based on a feeling of injustice. That you have been wronged, and so your honor has been offended. So you are indignant. And so Radharani is indignant. And therefore, she forbids the bee to touch her feet, which Sanatan, says Sanatan, the bee considers to be flowers. Why? Because Radharani has red toenails. Flowers from which it may draw pollen, or honey, or which the bee approaches in order to propitiate, to pacify her, Radharani, with his flattery. You know what is flattery? To flatter someone. So, in effect, Radharani is saying, don't try to flatter me, you rascal so-called messenger, by touching my feet. No, get away, you know, just, I don't want to hear anything about that. That fellow. Sanatan continues, the gopi expresses her mood of jealousy. So she's indignant, angry, but she's also jealous. Essentially, she says, alas, he enjoys with our rival, forgetting us altogether. And her jealousy is sharpened, made more intense, with contempt. Do you know what contempt is? Contempt. What's the Serbian for contempt? Okay. And how is that expressed? With the phrase, let the honey sweet Lord show favor to the women of Mathura who think highly of him. So it's like dismissing him. Sanatan, paraphrasing the gopis' derision, deriding, says rhetorically, what has all this effort to gain Krishna's favor given us? What have we gotten out of all of this? And therefore, she says, let him give his favor to them. After all, this is appropriate since he is a king, Pati, the lord of the Yadus. In any case, and this plays on the word Marupa, it is well known that there is no friendship with a drunkard. Okay, and then let's see. I just go on to explain some more features of it there. I won't go into it. I'll do one more verse of the Brahma Gita, and then what I thought I'll do is something, I'm going to jump a little to something else, but one moment. Okay, the next verse, verse 13, goes like this. Sakrita darasutam swan mohinim payayitva sumanasa ilasadyastatyajesman bhavadrik paricharatikatam tatpada padman nupadma hyapipatarhita cheta hyutamashloka jalpai. So she's continuing to speak. After allowing us to drink the nectar of his lips just once, Krishna abandoned us like you, sir, abandon flowers. She's addressing the bee. Why then does Padma, Lakshmi, serve his lotus feet? Oh, no doubt she too must have had her heart stolen by Uttama Shloka's deceitful words. So again, she's making conjectures. She's making one guess after another. She sees a bee and she thinks, oh, it's from Krishna, and he's been with other women, and on and on. She's building up this whole picture of Krishna, convinced that it's absolutely true, And now on top of that, she says, I can't understand why Lakshmi would serve his lotus feet, that rascal. And then she thinks, oh, I understand why she serves his lotus feet. Because she's just as stupid as we are. She was fooled just the same way that we've been fooled. That's what's going on. So she's got it figured out now. Shall I read one more verse? I'll just read the translation. Six-legged bee, why do you sing so much about the Lord of the Yanus in front of us, homeless women? You should sing these bygone affairs, these affairs from the past, in front of the new girlfriends of Arjuna's friend. He has relieved the pain of desire in the breasts of his beloveds, and so they will give what gifts you desire. So she's saying, you know, you've come to the wrong person. Why don't you go back and give your message to those women? Because you know, I'm out of the picture. It doesn't make any sense that you send your message to me. I mean, that's just, it's all past, it's all over, you know. Our affair is over. What's the point? It's ridiculous. So you can see, you know, she's resentful, right? But it's a sweet kind of resentment. And eventually, toward the end of this, she'll see suddenly the bee starts to go away. And after she's been insulting the bee so many times, she'll suddenly go, oh, no, actually, Krishna's so wonderful. She'll speak, you know, in a sweet way about Krishna. Yeah. So just to wrap up this little discussion, to say that this is the real story for the Vaishnavas, is Krishna and the residents of Vraja. And everything that's going on described in the 10th canto from chapter 45 through chapter 90, in one sense we could say, that's all just background. It's fascinating background, but for the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I would say it's background for the loving exchange and the sense of absence of that exchange that's going on between Krishna and Vrajavasis. What I want to do now, and as I said, I'm going to have to end a bit early because of the meeting, is with begging forgiveness for anyone who was present in Singhachalam for Nrsimha Chaturdasi. Was anyone there that time? I read something which I wrote, and the reason I want to read it now is because, to remind you again, we are compiling a book, and you can all take part. And how you can take part is by writing, elaborating on the pastime, some pastime of Krishna or one of his, any form of Krishna, and this is about Nrsimhadev. The theme is Krishna and his opponents. So I wrote about Nrsimhadev and his opponent Hiranyakashipu, in which they have a kind of mental conversation. You may say, but this is not in the Bhagavatam. No, it's not in the Bhagavatam. My justification for doing this is that Rupa Goswami explains that for the purpose of drama, and I would say broadly speaking, not just drama in the formal sense, but such writing, it is allowed to take liberties with. You are not in wrong. There's the door. It's allowed to take liberties with Shastra. One can make adjustments for the purpose of highlighting rasa. So obviously that means one has to know what one's doing, and I'm not claiming to know what I'm doing, but I think this may help. Some devotees have said it helps to appreciate their relationship. So, shall I read this? It's a dialogue. And again, my idea is to give you an idea, not to copy this or anything of that sort, but it may give you some idea for yourself to do some writing. Okay, this is... Nrsingadev has just burst out of the column. From the portico, from the porch of Indra's palace. He is roaring with anger and blazing with wrath. Hiranyakashipu and Nrsingadev are having what I call a heart-to-heart conversation. Without their words being heard by anyone else. We begin with Hiranyakashipu. He says, "Oh, ho, ho, oh, no, oh, but no, have I not seen you somewhere before?" Nrsingadev, "Yes. Don't you know? It's been a long time since we last met, hasn't it?" Hiranyakashipu, "But no, you're not Vishnu, are you? What's with this lion get-up and all that?" "No, not Vishnu. And even if you were Vishnu, it doesn't matter. You're powerless. You're powerless to harm me." Nrsingadev, "Oh, is that so?" Hiranyakashipu, "That is so. I have all my benedictions from Lord Brahma. Yes. Sorry, no way you can kill me." Nrsingadev, "No way I can kill you? I will decide that." Hiranyakashipu, "Oh no, you won't. Lord Brahma has already decided I can't be killed during the day nor during the night. Just this one condition." Wraps it up. Nrsingadev says, "Oh really? So then which time is it now? Is it day? Or is it night?" Hiranyakashipu, "Doesn't matter. It's day, of course. I mean, it's kind of nighttime." "Well, almost." Nrsingadev, "In other words, it is neither day nor night. Now is the hour of the evening sandhi, and just as you say, it is neither day nor night. Pleasant time, really, don't you think? Birds are quiet, sun has set, but stars are yet to appear. Quite charming. Let's enjoy it for just a moment, shall we?" Hiranyakashipu, "A moment, yes. No. Wait. Day, night, whatever. Doesn't matter. For time is only one consideration. There is also place. And I hold the benediction never to die, either within nor outside of a building. And as you see, I am presently within Indra's palace. I am presently outside Indra's palace. I am both within and outside Indra's palace. Nrsingadev. I would put the matter slightly different. You are neither within nor are you outside the building in question. For you are on the portico, defined by all Shilpa and Vastu Shastras as being a threshold belonging neither to the inside nor, dare I say, to the outside. Hiranyakashipu. You do take yourself to be quite clever, don't you? Ha! But clearly you don't know me. You don't know what austerities I have done to please Lord Brahma, to obtain immortality. But why waste time with you? I will dispatch you and be done with it. He starts waving his sword around and he makes a thrust at Nrsingadev, who deflects the sword easily with a swipe of his hand. Nrsingadev says, Now, let's not get overly excited, shall we? There's really no point in putting on such a show. A small surgical operation will take care of everything. Just relax and don't resist, and everything will be fine. Don't worry, this won't take long. Hiranyakashipu, his voice is shaking by now, says, No, you don't. You can't. You, Lord Brahma, he gave me another benediction. Yes, I can be killed by neither man nor beast. And you're obviously a beast, a lion. No, you are a man. No, you are both a man and a lion. So, nothing you can do to me. Nrsingadev is rolling his eyes in boredom, and he says, Do allow me to rephrase your point. You can be killed by neither man nor beast. Indeed, I fully agree. But I am just that, neither man nor beast, but rather both. I am Vishnu in my half-man, half-lion avatar. Hiranyakashipu. Yeah. Sure. I'm impressed. Quite a get-up you have there. What with the mane, the teeth, the claws. Not bad. I'm impressed. But sorry, it won't do. I have another benediction. Not to be killed by any weapon. So there, your club, your chakra, forget it. Won't do anything to me. Ha-ha. No. Nrsingadev grabs Hiranyakashipu around his waist. Hiranyakashipu says, No, you can't. And Nrsingadev says, Yeah, I know all that about the weapons, but don't worry. I won't assail you with any of my invincible weapons because I do want to honor Lord Brahma's cute little benedictions he gave you. Nor do any of my weapons have inclination to bother themselves with the likes of you. No, have no fear, none of that. You see, I have something else, right at hand, so to speak. And that is my fingernails, my claws, if you want to call them that. He shows us. Hiranyakashipu is now really shaking in fear, and he says, no, no, no weapons allowed. Claws are weapons. No claws allowed. Brahma's benediction. Don't forget. And Nrsingadev says, I don't forget, don't worry, no, claws are not weapons, never were, never will be, not extra devices, just natural growths from the body. Rather slick, don't you think? And 10 of them. Lovely, smooth, yet sharp as razors, and yet completely natural, biological, eco-friendly, run on renewable energy. No fuss, no muss, and no collateral damage when sent to their targets. Hiranyakashipu is by now being held in the air by Nrsingadev. But you simply waste my time. I have yet another benediction to be killed, neither on land nor in the sky. And right now you are holding me in the Nrsingadev, placing Hiranyakashipu on his lap. Oh, not really. You see, I thought of that already. And I took my cue from the occasions when you had your son Prahlad on your lap. So I thought it only proper to give you the opportunity to sit, or rather, to lie down on my lap. Because, you see, the lap is well known to be neither on the earth nor in the sky. Isn't that wonderful? There you go now, that's it. You can drop your sword and your shield now. Comfortable? Head back, that's perfect. Now you're ready for a little surgical operation. Hiranyakashipu looks up at Nrsingadev, he looks down at Hiranyakashipu. Oh! You do seem to have me now. All this time I knew you were somewhere around, but I couldn't find you, for you had hidden yourself so cleverly, and I know you must have hired a lawyer to work out this method of getting around all my benedictions. Very clever. Nrsingadev, I've been peacefully residing in your own heart all along, but you didn't notice. You wouldn't listen to me, you would only listen to your wild mind and raging senses. Nor would you listen to the good advice of your son, my dear devotee, Prahlad. And now you have tried to kill my devotee. What madness! What led you to this? For your offense, you must die. And now this moment has come, the moment of truth. Hiranyakashipu sighs deeply, and he says, it is so. My memory returns. I am your servant. But I forgot. I completely forgot. I am the greatest offender, a terrible demon. Please, take me. Finish this wretched body, I am yours. And Nrsingadev says, as I said, just a small and quick surgical operation, and it will all be over. There, finished. He digs his claws into Hiranyakashipu's gut, and he draws out the intestines, and he makes them into a garland, and he wraps it around his own neck. And he continues saying, does that feel better now? And then he says to himself, yes, he looks so much more peaceful now. He will be just fine. Hare Krishna. Okay, so as I said, this was meant to give some idea of how you can be a little creative in elaborating Krishna's pastimes with his opponents. So we'll end here. As I said, I have to be at a little, it's going to be an international meeting on internet, quite important meeting for Bhaktivedanta College, and I was not able to change the time. So, tomorrow, I don't know what's the schedule, so I don't know whether we have a seminar. I believe we have Rath Yatra tomorrow, so in case this is our last gathering for this subject, I want to thank you all very much for your kind participation, and I hope this will be an impetus for you to go back to the books, Krishna book, 10th canto, and read, or have someone else read to you, listen, discuss, reflect, and enjoy Krishna's pastimes. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Bhakti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande,
His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami Maharaja ki Jai.